My story starts at least 10 years ago, if not earlier, when I start to think about when I started feeling just weird things. Like I started with a lot of headaches, nerve pain, and I thought that it was like tension headaches and things like that. And so I started to see a lot of chiropractors. I woke up one day with the left side of my face feeling numb, and the doctors thought that I had Bell's palsy, and I had MRIs and things like that.
Mm.
And that was actually almost 20 years ago when that started.
Oh,
So,
wow. I didn't realize it was that long ago when you started having these weird things interject
yeah,
into your life here.
yeah. And so it would be one weird thing, and I'd get that checked out by a doctor, and then nothing's wrong with you, kind of thing, and just kind of move on and be like, okay, well, this is just what I'm going to deal with. And um, I just kind of continued. I saw chiropractors, and I was young at the time and in college and things. So I didn't like, my health wasn't maybe my top priority. I was like, whatever, you just keep going. And then as I continued to get older and became a teacher, actually, I started to have a lot of headaches almost every day and a lot of pain, like just with my legs and standing. Like it was hard to stand for a long time. I also started to get like pain in my wrists, and it was really hard to use my hands. And like I couldn't peel a potato because I couldn't hang on to it.
At a certain point, you went, whoa, 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 this is not normal.
How can this many different things be wrong with me? And I'm seeing different, orthopedic doctors and getting EMGs and just all. I was trying everything. I had did acupuncture, and I just had a lot of pain, nerve stuff, and headaches. And then 2017, I think, when things got really bad, and it took me until 2019 to figure out that I had Lyme. My hips hurt, and it hurt to stand. My joints felt like they were on fire. I did not have arthritis. And then started to notice that I would get a cyclical headache and stiff neck, really, really bad. About every 4 weeks or so. And so I remember telling my husband, like, I think that I'm getting it recurrently. And that's what made me think of Lyme. So I went to my doctor and I did get tested for Lyme, and it came back um, positive, negative, that maybe I
Yes,
had it.
yes, I remember this. We had these I mean, two things I'll comment on there is so often Lyme looks like that rheumatoid arthritis or inflammatory arthritis, but then they start testing, you're like, no, it's not that. But it kind of looks like that. So we had a lot more pain than someone your age should really have, a lot of those problems. And then we ran the Lyme test and got these it's not negative, but it's not positive kind of result, which is where it happens. Just that's where so many people just they hit a wall and it stops.
Yeah, yep. And my doctor decided to do a clinical diagnosis of Lyme and treat me with antibiotic. It wasn't a very long. I think it was a 2 week thing of antibiotic, and my hip pain went away. My headaches, like that cyclical headache, stopped, and my neck pain stopped. So I actually did feel better. The really bad things felt better.
When you take an antibiotic and get some relief, we're like, okay, we're on the right line of thinking here. So
Yep,
you were
yep,
better, but not all the way better.
right. I would still get headaches. I actually ended up getting like orthodontic work and aligning my teeth because I thought it was in my jaw alignment. So
Hmm.
a lot of money on that. And um, I just was really tired still. And then a lot of lightheadedness and like fainting or getting like blackout kind of stuff. Feeling very like I would go to work in the morning, and every morning I just felt very dizzy, like telling my coworkers, like, I don't feel right today. I'm not sure if I'm gonna fall over or not.
Now, I met you a little over a year ago, right? Was it
Yep.
the beginning of last summer?
Yep. Last July.
Okay, so when I met you last July, it wasn't the worst you had ever been, but it was still not healthy. We would say not
Right.
healthy. You still have a lot of like eights out of 10. Like I remember on your paperwork, it was like joint pain and tingling was still an 8. And you were like, but it's better. And you're like, but it's still an 8 out of 10. And the fatigue was like an 8 and the dizzy was a 6. And it was like, you still had a whole bunch of stuff at a pretty high level. I just remember you were so positive about it. You were just like, well, but it's been worse. I remember being like, what? Okay, I like the positivity. right? But I was like, but I think you can be better. And you were like, yes, I hope I can still be better,
Yeah. I think it started in January, just with my normal checkup with my doctor. And I was just still telling her some things that I just wasn't feeling good. And she had mentioned that when we did the Lyme test back in 2019, that my ferritin was high. And that's kind of what led me actually to you, was that she's like, let's test that again to see. My ferritin was high. So they checked out my liver. They were worried about iron overload and did genetic tests and ultrasounds and MRIs and all of this stuff. And working with the rheumatologist, they tested me for Lyme again, which was positive, but like the positive where they say it's just because you might have had it. And she was really great trying, like, she knew I was nothing, something was wrong with me. And so we just tried to test everything. And the rheumatologist kept saying, like, it's got to be the Lyme, but she had to say, like, it can't be the Lyme because you don't technically have it.
Mm-hmm.
It was at the lowest point. I just don't know what to do. I feel terrible and nothing is wrong with me, but I know everything is wrong with me. Another thing that pushed me to that was, like, I was waking up now with panic attacks and night sweats. And so I wasn't sleeping, and just these weird things that are not in my personality. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it was uncontrollable. And so
Yeah.
she had referred me to the infectious disease, and I just didn't, I, after talking to her and the rheumatologist kept saying Lyme, I'm like, you hear stories about people and having Lyme, and I know family members have had it. So that's when I started searching, and so she being in Minnesota, it was Lyme doctor, and I was like, okay, Lyme doctor. This seems weird. Like, are you really the Lyme doctor?
I
um,
I was early enough it's a pretty good website name, right? It was pretty
yeah,
good. I was like, oh, this one's open. That's a good one to get.
it was like too
Um,
good to be true. Like, oh, I'm looking for a Lyme doctor, and that's what it says. And so when I called you and talked to you, and we had that consult on the phone, it was like I was so nervous because I was so used to going in and saying something was wrong, and then a doctor being like, no, that's not wrong with you, and some of them being shameful and some of them being just fine and saying, it's not wrong.
mhm.
So I was so nervous that I was like coming to you telling you, and I didn't really have Lyme. But I remember when you're
Yeah.
like, no, I think you have Lyme, I was just like, a weight lifted off of me, and I canceled the infectious disease appointment. I told my doctor, I'm like, I can't go that route anymore. It's not working.
Anymore. Yeah. Yeah. And so we came in and we ran pretty thorough testing on you. And we found, was it Bart really on you that was the big player?
Yep.
And this happens when I find people have done antibiotics and they get some improvement. We technically didn't think the Lyme was really driving your symptoms anymore,
Right.
but the doxy hadn't fixed all the co-infections. This is super common where, oh, the antibiotic helped, it got rid of something, probably. And we kind of assumed that was the Lyme, but it didn't get rid of the chronic Bartonella. And Bartonella can be, a huge, huge driver of all these symptoms, right?
Yeah. And I didn't even know Bartonella existed.
So we started then, we found that, was it almost a year ago now? Okay, and just walk me through, how long did it take for you to start feeling better and for kind of some of these symptoms to start, changing for your journey here?
Yeah, I think so. We started in July, right at the beginning of July, with my protocols. And I know in the fall, I had days where I felt good. Like, I just felt, I could just feel it in my brain. I was clearer. You just felt lighter, is all the way that I could explain it. Is like, okay, something is different. And so in the fall, I would have a little bit of like, um, I'd feel good for a little while, and then I'd feel bad again, and then feel good, and then
Yes.
kind of a up and
Yes,
down.
up and down, which is really hard. So an up and down person at 3 months is very encouraging to me as a doctor because I know I'm on the right track. That's actually very good. But it is also emotionally very hard to have because the down days are almost more disappointing because you
Right.
have these up days to compare them to.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And just to know, like, oh, I could actually feel like this, and then to go back to feeling that, I was used to feeling icky every day. So then to be
Yeah.
like, oh, icky again, and I know how I'm actually supposed to feel.
So it's a lot if you're in that mode, it's a lot of me going, hey, look, you're trending, we're getting there. it is a frustrating stage in the healing process for people, and I think we had some of that too.
Yeah, it was definitely an up and down. And then I think it was in January. So we started in July, and then in January, I think towards the end of the month is when my husband and I kind of looked at each other and I'm like, I think I've been feeling good for a long time. Like I don't remember the last time I felt bad, or like so I think most of February, like I went a whole month feeling really, really good. And it was like just amazing. I mean, if you haven't been sick and felt awful for a long time, you can't understand the feeling of like I just did my life for a month with no problems, and I managed everything, and I wasn't in pain. And I before I had been living my life of physically, I showed up to everything. Still, I wasn't going to not show up. Um, but it was like, okay, I have to do this thing, and all you have to do is make it through this, and then you can rest, or make it through this. Like I was just making it through little chunks of time to have my life. And so now to be able to just be like, I do things and I enjoy it, and I don't ever think about like, oh, okay, this is 3 hours, I gotta make it through the next 3 hours, and then I'll be okay and I can rest.
You kind of started to hit all your health goals pretty much by 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was just about, okay, well, how fast do I back you down on the protocol to make sure we don't just, drop all the support too quick. But that's really what you really responded very, very fast. And I wanted particularly you to be on, because so many people will say Bartonella's the hardest one. That's kind of in some of the Lyme world, and it takes the longest. And I've really found that, when you do this nutritionally and herbally, I don't think it's really the hardest one all the time. And some people can respond in a fairly timely fashion. I don't know if 6 months is long or short to people, but to me, it's fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not on much of the protocol anymore, and just feeling good. And
Well, is there anything else you'd want to add? Maybe if someone is sick and maybe feeling discouraged and frustrated, how you were feeling, what would you tell them now, being, a year removed from where you were?
I think that what I appreciated most about going to see you is that you looked at everything, and not just one thing. Like I was getting treated, singularly for all kinds of different things. And I think the best thing was that looking at everything, and being able to find that it was one thing that was wrong, instead of many different things. And so that, and then along with the testing, and that when I did get better, we stopped things and changed things like that. Um, I just felt super supported. And I had told my family that I had carried the weight of my not feeling well for so long. And oh, this is kind of emotional, but I remember when I met with you, and we found out what was wrong. And I told my family, I'm like, I just decided to give all of that to you. And I wasn't carrying the weight of getting better, and trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And I just decided to put my faith in you figuring that out. And yeah, best decision I've ever made. So I would say if you are feeling really bad, um, to search you out, and give you a try, and that you do help and definitely change lives.
Well, thank you so much, Linda. It was a privilege to work with you, and it's so fun to, see now all the things you're doing. Thanks so much for being here today.
You're welcome. Thanks for helping me get better.
All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day, Linda.
You too. Bye.